So welcome to The Rest is Tech. Today we're talking about system selection.
Is ERP still a thing?
But you're stuck with that.
You stick to vanilla, you stick to the product.
Putting all your eggs in one basket. Are we really better at doing everything, or should we
That's quite a lot to unpack.
not heading in the same day? If we're not looking at the same light. I haven't convinced you, have I? Today we're talking about system selection, the do's and don'ts, ERP, what is ERP, what are best of breed systems.
Is ERP still a thing? Do we still talk about ERP?
We do, yeah. I mean, clients still talk about ERP. They've heard of ERP, but there's ERP, there's MRP, ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning.
I was going to say, so what's ERP, what's MRP, what other RPs are there?
Yeah, well, Enterprise Resource Planning, Manufacturing Resource Planning, Warehouse Management. That's not an RP, is it? But they're all different systems.
So basically they're these, not all in one, but a lot of in one systems that do most of the things that you want to do, but perhaps not everything you want to do.
Yeah, I look at ERP in two ways. So ERP's just a name, in the same way as we call vacuum cleaners Hoovers. It's just a generic term, although it came from one tool that did everything, but now it's just a label that people give to a system or systems that do multiple things. I think that's how I look at it. And I always talk about ERPs as being like a duck. So
Like a duck?
It swims, it flies, and it walks, but it's not the quickest or the best at all three of those, but it does all three. That's an ERP system. Whereas if you now go for best of breed solution, you have the best flying, the best walking, the best swimming. You can marry them all together.
But that gives you integration challenges normally, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think traditionally, but I wouldn't say these days, would you? With the advent of cloud and everything sat similar, and APIs, another little acronym, application program interface, systems are far easier to integrate with each other, I would say, now than previously. Would you?
I think they can be, but inevitably, if you go best of breed, if you're taking the best solution for each part of your business, you're always going to have that one that's that much harder to connect to the others than the other. It doesn't speak the same language, so to speak.
Yeah, but that's part of the selection process, isn't it? If you're going down a route, if you have a strategy, then you make sure that the best of breed isn't maybe the best outright winner. It's the best system that meets that specific needs for that company. So does it work with all these other systems that you already like?
So let's put this into a scenario then. So you come into an organisation that's probably got, I don't know, lots of Excel spreadsheets knocking around, everything, orders being processed on email, etc. That's a typical scenario where we're going to come in and someone's going to mention that ERP term, and you're going to start looking for how do we turn all these different processes and manual or semi-automatic or Excel-based solutions into something a little bit more suitable for the company's needs.
Yeah, so recent client, 96 spreadsheets at the last count. So, so an ERP would do everything, would make it possibly simpler because it's one system that you're implementing. But again, the downside of that would be it's a big bang. You're ripping everything out. So the benefit of maybe doing a best of breed is just change the finance part or just change the warehouse part or something like that. So you're not affecting the whole business, and it's a more leisurely or more structured implementation rather than the big bang, everything happens and you turn it on overnight and hopefully it all works.
So we just deal with 20 spreadsheets at a time maybe?
Or something like that, yeah. And then the finance team, if you can pick a finance system that works best for them. The warehouse team can we can find a warehouse system that works best for them. And the ERP is not a compromise of all those things. The ERP gives you consistent data, but that's what I'm saying, by having best of breed and linking them together, you can ensure that you have consistent data across all those. So that an example would be, you ask the finance system how many employees we've got, and it says 54. And you ask the HR system how many employees we got, and it says, oh no, we've got 39 or something. And you're like, okay, there's a difference there. So by having a data, consistent information across them all, you can ensure that you ask the same question of different systems, get the same answer.
So how are we going to, excuse me, how do we decide whether we're going to pick and choose and get best of breed for finance and HR and the warehouse, etc., or we go for a single solution that does all of them reasonably well, but perhaps none of them perfectly?
Well, it's individual. You ask an architect to design, 3 architects to design something, and you'll come up with 4 different designs, won't you? So it's down to individual preference. My personal preference in the current market is, I think that best of breed solutions are probably better for a lot of clients, but some clients want the one system. They're happy with the big bang approach. They want to minimise the number of suppliers they're dealing with, that sort of thing. So I don't think you can't say this is the one answer. It depends on each client and what their preferences are.
So why would you say that best of breed is better? What's leading you to say that in the current climate market?
Because I think you can get consistent data across all the systems with, as I said, APIs or with middleware on the rare occasion that some systems don't have an API. But for me, it's all about the people using the systems and their preferences. So by going with best of breed, you have a greater choice to select from. Like I say, the finance people like one look and feel of their accounting software. The manufacturing team like a different layout and way things are, and it gives you greater flexibility for them all to get something that they like and work together, rather than an ERP system that does everything, but you're stuck with that. Everyone's compromising.
What about cost? Is it more expensive to put best of breed in than a single ERP? I know there's no generic answer, but
it could be, but also there's a lot of free tools out there that do the job. If you go, so the cost argument, it's normally down to a per user per month sort of cost. Some of them work on a concurrent users, some of them work on configured users. So with an ERP system, with a company of 60 people, you've probably got 50 people that need to be configured on the system to use it. So that's a cost. But if you're going with individual units, in the finance team you might only have 3 people, so there's only a cost for 3. And same with the warehouse, there might be 5, 6 people cost. So the costs can be similar because you're not having to buy licenses for everyone that don't use all the features, as it were. An ERP system, you have a license, you can use everything. With individual systems, you're just buying the licenses for the bits you need to see. I haven't convinced you, have I?
it's not that you haven't convinced me. I'm just trying to think through, scenarios that I've been in where, someone said, but we want, a big name, SAP, Oracle, these massive, very well-known software companies. And, I've been in those positions, I'm sure you have, where it's, it's not the right answer, but you have to convince someone that a generic Oracle system or SAP system just because it's got a great big badge on it and everybody knows about it. There's going to be so much in there that certain businesses, especially slightly smaller business, medium-sized businesses, they're just not going to use like 50, 60% of the functionality. But there's this perception that if I don't go big name, then I could be taking a risk unnecessarily. They could go out of business, might not be a very good solution, whatever it is.
Well, no, I agree. And I think the might go out of business, the financial stability is probably, from what I see, is why most medium-sized businesses go for the big names, because they're worried they go for a smaller company that they might not be around in 5 years' time or whatever, and therefore going for a company that sponsors a Formula One racing car or an American Cup yacht or something, they feel the certainty of that. But you're paying for that name, you're paying for the brand.
You pay for that sponsorship.
You are paying for that sponsorship. But I understand. Yeah, I have seen it that they like the certainty that they are big companies and they're not going to go out of business. But you can put in criteria to make sure they're going to be around. You can select software based on financial stability. That can be one of the requirements, one of the features you're looking for. There's no guarantee that any company will be around forever.
No.
But you can, if you. So I suppose that would be a downside of choosing an ERP system, because you're putting all your eggs in one basket. You're reliant on that one company, no matter how big they are, to always be around. If you've got multiple companies providing finance, warehousing, manufacturing, then all your eggs aren't in one basket, are they? So if you've liked what you've seen, like, comment and subscribe.
Right, let's go back to talking about
big businesses and ERP.
Yes.
So why
big and small businesses?
Big and small businesses. So yes, you go with a big name, a big brand system, not just ERP, but any system. They are going to be more tailored, geared towards big businesses. They make a lot of money. If you're a medium-sized business, you're a small percentage of their profit and therefore a smaller voice if anything goes wrong, or you want to, not necessarily goes wrong, but you want to influence improvements in their product. Whereas if you deal with a medium-sized business, you're not a medium-sized system provider, you're not paying for all that sponsorship on F1 cars, and you have a larger voice when it comes to suggesting improvements of the software, or heaven forbid anything goes wrong, you're a larger percentage of their profit, therefore
we're going to listen to you.
They'll listen to you more.
Yeah, I've worked with some large companies who work with large providers and still don't get listened to, because how large is large? There's always someone bigger than you out there, and it can be difficult to influence at that level.
But I think the problem is people have heard of the big companies and no one's heard of the medium-sized businesses that do an equally good, if not in some cases better job. It's not just the software and the system, it's the support you get as well is a key part of it. So
yeah, I wanted to pick up on something you said there a minute ago. So you were talking about your voice not being heard. You may have things that you want built into the system that the vendor, because you're smaller than other people who use it, maybe your voice is a bit drowned out by the noise. But that leads us on to customization, right? And I've always advocated, as I'm sure you have, you stick to vanilla, you stick to the product. If there's a change you can get put into the product, that's one thing, because you're still using the product. But don't start fiddling with it and having customizations that only apply to you, because then every time there's a new release, you're going to have to pay again and again and again and again for those customizations. And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, they don't really give you any competitive advantage anyway. It's just more suitable for you because it's something you've always done a certain way.
Indeed. So I talk to people about configuration and customization. So as you say, customization is changing it to the way you work, and configuration is maybe just changing the name of something to suit the nomenclature that you use within your business. If you go with configuration, you can upgrade, you don't have to test. And the benefit of going with these companies is they're going to constantly evolve their product. So you get the benefit of the thousands of other customers that are feeding in and suggesting improvements. You're not reliant on your own thoughts on how the product can be improved. You've got these other 1,000 customers suggesting things that some of them will be good for you. And as you rightly say, customization, you get stuck in. I've seen it so many times. You get stuck into a version of the software and you end up, you're 10 years behind everyone else because you had some customization that, as you rightly say, probably didn't add any value to you. It was just you had processes or you had things and you wanted to copy those, whereas really we try and encourage people to look at the software and say, well, if we do things this way and the software with its thousands of customers do it that way, are we really better at doing everything, or should we consider 1,000 other customers doing it a certain way? Maybe they might have something going for them there.
So just to be clear, we're both saying configuration good,
Yes.
customization bad.
Yes.
In almost any situation.
And because it gets you stuck into a version of the software, maybe even locked in with that provider. It's difficult to get out, but that version of software, that provider. And if you're customizing it, it's going to cost you money to customize it. If you go with, as you call it, vanilla or configuration, a lot cheaper, quicker to implement, not in the first place, and then keep upgrading it as time goes on.
Can we stop it now?
Yeah, I think so.